father used to say, a man is only as good as his word. The contract itself is simply a memorialization, if you will, of a pre-existing verbal agreement. Now, obviously, human nature is such that not everyone is true to their word. Things happen in life, and values differentials occur. And thankfully, we do have civil courts of arbitration in this country. But if you're in a business that doesn't offer that, it can get very violent, right? We see that here in the United States, and it's a reality of a human condition. Contracts also exist in the dealings between countries. And in the last 50 years, it can be said, I think, rather succinctly and as a stipulation that the perception that others have in our ability to maintain and to keep a contract is dubious. I think look at us almost as children attempting to strike a deal to stay out an hour late, beyond the curfew. And so it makes it very difficult when you read books like Casterly, Bismarck, and Metternich, or what I'm probably butchering the title. When you read books like that and you read about these grand strategies of sorts, the ability to kind of think forward beyond your own time frame and kind of to almost develop, like a developer would think, developing the grounds of the future esoterically. It's very difficult to do that if you can't engage in a contract with another sovereign. And so I think it becomes incredibly important, as a matter of fact, to correct this. I do have a solution, an initial solution, which is the speaking where our founders have it on the issue of treaty dissolution. So the two cases that I want to point to are two cases from two very different presidents, and I want to say this all without prejudice. This is not a commentary on the intentionality behind these decisions. Each president has an opportunity to make a decision, and that is their decision. And so it's not for me to question it. I'm just simply going to discuss very briefly the impact of these decisions, not the decisions themselves, but the impact of the breach of contract has on the ability for us to be able to actually make a move in a global environment that's so interconnected. And so the two presidents in question, of course, are President Jimmy Carter, and God bless him and his family. I know he's ready to head to eternity, and that's fantastic. And I know that God is going to be super happy when he shows up. Definitely a man of God. I've in my life talked a lot of smack about that president in my diary and journals, but it was more for fun, like kind of like me talking about how I hate the police. It was just kind of fun, but President Carter, obviously a man of God, and teaches Sunday school, or taught Sunday school for quite some time. It's awesome. I'm sure you've been a great Sunday school teacher to be in this class. Any event, so President Carter and his withdrawal, unilateral withdrawal from the treaty with China, has been a very difficult situation that has created a difficult circumstance here for the United States. And again, I don't want to comment. I don't want this to be a commentary on what the results have been on these decisions, but just to say it this way: to prevent tyranny requires there to be a check on tyranny. And just as much as our founders understood the necessity of having a governing body or a body of people to, with 2/3 consent, to say, hey, listen, this is a good idea, and we're going to enact a treaty, which is, in theory, a generational dynamic. It transcends the existence of any one administration. Our founders saw fit to make it that 60, 2/3, right? A 2/3 majority of the Senate would have to be in concurrence with the president in relationship to engaging in a treaty. And yet they said nothing about dissolution. Maybe that's because treaties are supposed to, in theory, be eternal, right? But as we know, they aren't. And unfortunately today, in today's age, they've become much more than just not eternal. They've almost become a mechanism for political gerrymandering. I'm not suggesting that's necessity. I'm not suggesting that's what happened when President Trump withdrew from the Iran treaty, but nonetheless, it seems that there was a lot of political volume there and less grand strategy as far as our thinking into the future. So with that being said, I'm going to sum it up like this. I think that if it's going to take 2/3 to make the treaty happen, it should take 2/3 to break it. That's number one. Number two, if you're the sovereign and you can't sell an idea to 100 people and get 60 of them to say you're right, then it's a bad idea. All right, this is the way it is. It's a buyer's. That's the marketplace of ideas. If you can't get people to buy what you're talking about, then it's really there's nothing else to say. and that what we want to create is create an environment, again, where our word has a value. Whereas today, our word is the equivalency of a dope fiend asking for a loan of abundance. We have no word. We're a dope fiend nation that essentially has to wait till the majority takes over, pack up the needle, and then start going ahead and shooting up all the taxpayer dollars. So until we can kind of get out of the dope fiendness of our governance, which has been the case in my lifetime, that's how we're going to be looked at by the rest of the world.